Oh wow. Wow, this is nice. Behind me is an artificial lake, probably the most famous one in Georgia, called the Jinvali Reservoir, created during the Soviet era in 1986. Supply hydroelectric power and fresh water to Tbilisi. And even to this day, you can still drink straight from the tap, from the water that comes from here.
Sounds great.
Point is 70 meters. Under this water there is two villages. When the water level is lowering, one of the churches appears from the water. Ex-villagers are coming, renovating it, and the priest is coming and doing the mass to keep the status working church.
Did the government like give those people money or new housing, or
they don't care?
That they don't care?
It was Soviet years.
So where did they go?
Perched above the lake's turquoise waters is one of the most iconic and important sites in Georgian history. Ananuri, a 16th century fortress which was once the seat of the Ananuri feudal dynasty. And this was also one of the wealthiest towns in Georgia due to its strategic location on the Silk Road. Everyone wanted to pass through here and conquer this place, which is why it became one of the most attacked places in Georgia. The fortress has been the site of many Georgian victories, but also defeats. The most noteworthy of which took place in the 18th century, when the Aragivi clan was massacred by the Duke of Ksami, angering the peasants and ultimately igniting years of feuds, uprisings, and power struggles. It remained in use until the early 19th century. The fort was never actually besieged, however, thanks to a secret tunnel that led from the fortress down to the river, where people could have supplies and other necessities brought to them. One legend says a woman named Anna from Nuri was tortured and killed here by an enemy for refusing to reveal the location of the tunnel, hence the name Ananuri. But others say the name translates to Anna's regret and was named either after the prince's daughter allegedly led her Dagestani lover, who was a double agent, into the fortress and executed an attack, or after enemy troops decided to camp on the river and regretted it after being swept away by a thunderstorm. The complex is comprised of two castles joined by a crenellated curtain wall, and two of the churches, the larger one of which bears a traditional Georgian grapevine cross.
Это крепость Ананури, который был построен в 15 веке под конфликтом Lord Fort. After this
From Tbilisi, it's about a 6-hour bus journey across the country to the Black Sea town of Kobuleti. Now we're at the bus station in Tbilisi. We're going to be taking a day trip to the Black Sea coast.
We're about midway through our journey and we've made this pit stop. And apparently this is a small-sized shawarma in Georgia. We just entered Kutaisi. It's the third largest city in Georgia. I read that it has a large Polish population. I heard the locals here are famous for their sense of humor. There's also a saying that the women here can have no house and no car, but nice clothes. And in fact, Kutaisi's women are said to be the best dressed and have the best fashion in all of Georgia. I also heard that in pre-Soviet times this was a major mafia city, but just looking at it you'd think we were back in the Soviet Union. And I've actually noticed this throughout all of Georgia. Once you get out of the historic city centers, it looks no different than it did in Soviet times. And this is sort of how everyone imagines stereotypical Eastern European cities. It's quite a culture shock, honestly. They also passed a truck with a Stalin sticker on it. Our guy was actually telling us this legend about how when God created the earth and divided up all the land, the Georgians missed their share because they slept in and were late, but then they ended up getting land anyways because God appreciated their honesty. But he said it actually reflects Georgians pretty accurately because everyone here is so slow and is always late. He also said if a business says they open at 10, get there at 11. And that even reflects in the tours, which don't leave till 9 o'clock, which I think is too late.
Oh, we've just entered the region of Ajaria, an autonomous republic within the nation of Georgia that has its own ethnic group with its own dialect, culture, and traditions. It sits around the Turkish border and is home to a large Muslim community, a legacy of the Ottoman occupation. It is also from here where in Greek mythology, Jason and the Argonauts set out in search of the Golden Fleece.
No thanks, that way. I'm in the town of Kobuleti. During the Soviet era, the town was a mecca for health tourism, lined with dozens of sanatoriums. But following the collapse of the Soviet Union and civil wars in the early 90s, the health tourism industry collapsed and the sanatoriums were abandoned and plundered. It wasn't until 2004 that the town began to redevelop into a tourist destination, becoming especially popular with Armenians. That's fine. After over a 5-hour bus ride, we've arrived in a small town of Kobuleti on the Black Sea coast. Yeah, it's a good alternative if you don't live in a big city, Batumi. It's also more convenient because the bus stop's pretty close to the beach. This region is famous for its magnetic healing stands. Now, according to Greek
In Turkish chronicles,
the Black Sea gets its name because it had a dark aura around it and was notoriously inhospitable and dangerous to sail. However, biologists will tell you
its name comes from its blackish color, which is caused by bacteria living in its otherwise lifeless 500-foot depths. These shores are also home to the world's only magnetic black sand beaches, which are said to possess healing properties. Over there in the distance you can see Batumi, and just beyond is Turkey. I thought 2.5 to 3 hours wouldn't be enough. I even considered spending the night here, but now I'm ready to leave, honestly. I'm actually quite disappointed with what I've seen so far. Well, unfortunately, the most beautiful sections of the coast and mountains are extremely challenging to get to.
Pozbierasz się do tego, daj tu, bo ja chcę popakować. Zmienić. To jest nasze, ja już nie mam.
We're heading back to the city center. There isn't even one decent place to eat. From my research, I read that this is supposed to be an upscale resort town, but there is nothing upscale about it. Honestly, this may be the worst place I've ever been to. And we still have quite a decent amount of time to kill before the bus comes, so I decided to check out the local church, as there's not much else around here. If someone posted that Georgia has some of the worst toilets, I have to agree. And we're heading back to Tbilisi after what was a very disappointing day. Well, as if this day couldn't get any worse, we had an incident with some locals on the bus that I'd rather not discuss. The only reason we even took the bus is because the train was sold out. There was supposed to be a 24/7 taxi service at the bus station, but it was closed, and we ended up having to take a street taxi, and the guy wanted 50 lari. He eventually settled for 25. Even though the boat we took in the morning only charged 5. Yeah, I've yet to see this incredible hospitality they boast about.